Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Hope all is well. In the holy book Torah Or, the book written by the Alter Rebbe, the holy Alter Rebbe, it was Maimarim, discourses delivered by the holy first Rebbe of Chabad, the Alter Rebbe. He speaks about Yaakov Avinu, Jacob our forefather. We hear a lot about Yaakov Avinu. He's one of the three holy patriarchs of our nation, of Israel. The Israelites, the Jewish people, we are from the three patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham is the first of the forefathers. His son, it was passed over to Yitzchak Avinu, Isaac, his son, and then to his son, Yaakov, Jacob. They are our holy patriarchs. We know of these very, very holy leaders of our nation. That of those three, Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, was actually on the highest level of all three of them. The reason for this is because he was able to perfect and reach greater levels in his godly service than even that of his father and grandfather. And we know that, of course, one of the main reasons why this was possible was because of his father and grandfather and mother and grandmother, because of how great they were. They were able to guide Yaakov in the right direction. But nonetheless, we know with Hashem's help, he reached even greater heights than his forefathers before him. The reason for this is we have to learn about the Sfirot. The Sfirot in Kabbalah, Hasidus, we learn about how there are 10 attributes, 10 Sfirot through which Hashem creates the world. And Avram Avinu corresponds to the Sephira, the attribute of Chesed, kindness. So Avram Avinu's way of serving God was in a way of open kindness. He was always inviting people into his home. He was always giving. And his service of God was in a way of love, tremendous love for Hashem and love for those around him. Yitzchak Avinu, of course, had those qualities, but his service of God was more focused, more aimed in the sphere of Gevura, the other end, strictness, severity. He had a great fear of God in his relationship with Hashem. Yitzchak Avinu had a tremendous fear of Hashem. Of course, he also had love, but his service of God was more in a way of strictness. We know that kindness is kindness. We learn that is the attribute of giving, open giving. So it doesn't distinguish between who the person is, but it continues to give, even if a person is worthy or not worthy. Whereas Gevura is a more measured way of giving. When someone is strict, they're more careful who they give to, but when they give with abundance and potency and power. And that is Yitzchak Avinu. Yaakov Avinu the third was the attribute of, and is the attribute of Tiferes, which means beauty or harmony if you want to translate it into English. And it is the balance between Chesed and Gevura. It is the perfect intermediary between Chesed and Gevura, kindness and strictness. And that is why Yaakov Avinu was the attribute of Tiferes, which means harmony and beauty. And that is true. It also corresponds to the level of mercy. That is a perfected character trait that Yaakov Avinu was able to attain. We know that Yaakov Avinu is tremendously connected to Mashiach. Yaakov Avinu is the forefather, the main forefather of our nation, because Avram Avinu, he had multiple children, and Yitzchak was the one who took the reign from who his father passed the reign over to of our nation. But there was part of Avram's children who weren't fully part of the Jewish nation. And then there's Yitzchak Avinu, who he also was at a incredibly high level, but some of his children, Esav, were also not fully integrated within the Jewish people and were separated out. But Yaakov Avinu, all of his children were Jewish. We learn that Esav was Jewish, but he wasn't in the same section as Yaakov's children. That after Yaakov Avinu, there was no discretion between any of the children. They were all equally involved in the nation. It's because Yaakov Avinu was tremendously perfected his character traits in the service of Hashem. We learned something very, very deep in Torah Or, where the Alter Rebbe explains what does the name Yaakov mean. It means Yud Ekev, which is very interesting. Yud and then Ekev means Yud, which is the highest level, the highest level of the Sfirot, which is Chochmah. It's the first level of intellect, the first flash of intellect that is beyond grasp, and is a very lofty level of revelation. When we first get an idea in our heads, that first pure flash that we get in our head is our highest level of consciousness, and then from there it comes into consciousness, deep, more developed in our understanding and our emotions. So Yaakov Avinu has this letter Yud and then Ekev, which means ankle, which is the lowest level. A person's foot, a person's ankle is their lowest level. So it shows Yud and then Ekev. There's a tremendous contrast here, the highest level and the lowest level. What did we learn from this? We learned that Yaakov Avinu brings the greatest levels to the lowest levels. And that is the whole purpose why Hashem created the world, is that to bring the light from above down here to this low physical world. And then the light as it is above, the light that Hashem the light that Hashem reveals to himself will be revealed down here in this physical world for us to see. That is the whole mission of the coming Mashiach. And that is why Yaakov Avinu is the Mashiach of his generation, the Moshe of his generation. He is the forefather Mashiach. And the Mashiach will be the Yaakov Avinu of our generation. Because Yaakov Avinu takes the greatest lights, godly divine revelation, and brings it down here into the lowest place, the physical place. That is why we have to always remember those high moments when we connect to Hashem, when we feel tremendously close to Hashem. We have to bring them into those moments where we may not feel close to Hashem, God forbid. And we have to remember in those moments that Hashem is still completely running the show. There's nothing else besides him. And we have to use our connection to God in every place we're in. No matter where we're at, we have to call out to Hashem, and he'll surely answer. He adores each and every one of us, and he answers. We have to trust that he adores us more than we can ever love ourselves. And when we do that, our entire lives will be elevated, just like Yaakov Avinu, that he was able to take the Yud and bring it to the Ekev, Yaakov, bring the divine light, which is infinitely beyond Chokhmah and infinitely beyond the ankle also. Our lowest attribute, which is walking, action, and then our highest attribute, intellect, the highest spark of intellect, Chokhmah, they are equally tiny in comparison to Hashem. So that is why our entire being has to be permeated with God. And then in this physical world, we will experience greater revelations than in heaven, because the entire purpose of God creating this world was for here, this physical world. We're not interested in going up to heaven, but rather we're interested in bringing heaven down here into earth, because that is the true mission in this world, is to bring heaven down to earth. There'll be everlasting life with the coming of Mashiach and the resurrection of the dead, the coming third temple. Bezrat Hashem, may it be today. May you all be blessed. Hope you enjoyed this message, this video. May we walk in the ways of our forefathers. Bezrat Hashem.